The town barely appeared on most maps, a quiet stretch of road where time slowed and people learned not to ask questions. Late afternoon heat shimmered above cracked pavement as Eli Warren stood outside a roadside market, one hand holding a cold bottle of water, the other resting loosely at his side. He was 36, tall, broad without trying, his posture relaxed but alert, like someone who never truly stopped watching the world around him. His hair was cropped short, streaked with gray at the edges, and a thin scar traced his jawline, pale and deliberate. Years earlier, discipline had been carved into him through fire, loss, and survival. At his feet lay Rex, a mature German shepherd with a weathered black and tan coat and intelligent amber eyes. His movements were slow but controlled, shaped by training and old injuries that never quite faded. One ear tilted slightly, the other alert, as if listening to sounds only he could hear. Rex stayed close, not from fear but trust. He had learned long ago that staying near Eli meant safety. Inside the store, the hum of a refrigerator blended with the soft clink of glass bottles. Behind the counter stood Martha Lynn, a woman in her 70s with steel-gray hair pulled back tight and eyes that missed nothing. She smiled faintly at Eli. "That dog looks like he means business," she said. From behind a shelf, a teenage boy named Aaron laughed nervously. "Yeah, like he's guarding state secrets." For a brief moment, everything felt normal. Then the patrol car arrived. It rolled in slow, without lights or sirens, parking crooked across two spaces like it owned the ground. The engine idled loudly. Deputy Frank Dolan stepped out, thick-necked, uniform stretched tight, badge glinting in the sun. His mouth wore a permanent smirk, one that thrived on reaction. His eyes scanned the lot and landed on Rex. Inside the store, an elderly drifter dropped a bag of ice near the door. It burst open, scattering cubes across the floor. The sound snapped the air in two. Dolan stormed inside, shouting, shoving the man aside, then turned his attention to the dog. "Well now," he said, stepping closer. "What do we have here?" Before anyone could respond, he yanked Rex's leash hard, dragging him outside. Eli followed calmly, voice low. "Don't touch my dog." Dolan ignored him, chaining Rex to the patrol car door. The dog stiffened, ribs tightening, eyes fixed on Eli, not in panic but in silent appeal. Then Dolan reached into his cruiser and pulled out his baton. The first strike landed hard. The sound echoed, and something old inside Eli woke up. The baton struck Rex again, solid and cruel, the sound sharp enough to make everyone nearby freeze. The dog let out a restrained whine but did not snap, did not fight. His body remembered rules learned the hard way. Fighting back meant worse. Eli stood still, his face unreadable, but inside his mind shifted with precision. Distance. Timing. Witnesses. The security camera above the gas pump. Aaron's shaking hands lifting a phone. "Stop," Eli said, his voice calm, almost gentle. "Let him go." Deputy Dolan turned, surprised by the lack of fear. "You telling me what to do?" He raised the baton again. Eli moved. Not fast. Not wild. Just enough. His hand caught Dolan's wrist mid-swing, redirecting the force so the baton slammed into the metal door instead of flesh. The clang rang across the lot like a gunshot. Dolan cursed, yanking back, but Eli had already shifted his weight, twisting with controlled leverage. No punches. No rage. Just skill. Rex remained chained, chest heaving, nails scraping concrete as he struggled to steady himself. Dolan recovered quickly, shoving Eli hard in the chest. "Resisting an officer," he barked loud enough for cameras to hear. He spun Eli around, slapping cuffs onto his wrists with excessive force. "You're done." Martha stepped to the doorway, her voice tight. "Frank, that's enough." "Get inside," he snapped. She didn't move. Aaron raised his phone fully now, recording everything. Dolan noticed too late. His smirk faltered, replaced by irritation. He glanced at the camera overhead, then back at Rex. With a violent jerk, he dragged the dog upright and shoved him into the back of the cruiser's kennel, slamming the door shut. Rex cried out once, then pressed himself into the corner, eyes wide but focused. Eli watched silently as Dolan shoved him into the patrol car. Gravel spit as the cruiser pulled away, leaving behind a stunned stillness. Only when the sound faded did Martha exhale shakily. Aaron lowered the phone, tears streaking his face. "I got it all," he whispered. At the station, the air turned cold and sharp. Dolan bypassed the front desk, dragging Eli into a small interrogation room. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. He clipped the cuffs to a steel ring on the table. "You think you're some kind of hero?" Dolan sneered. "No ID. No address. Nobody's coming for you." Eli didn't answer. Silence was not weakness. It was preparation. Down the hall, Rex paced inside a concrete kennel, ribs aching, ears tuned toward distant sounds. He barked once, steady and deliberate, not fear but signal. I'm here. And somewhere deep inside Eli listened. Night fell heavy over the station as rain began to roll in, thick drops hammering the roof like a warning. Eli sat motionless in the interrogation room, wrists raw against the cuffs, breathing slow and measured. Across from him, Deputy Dahlin paced, confidence thinning with every unanswered silence. You don't scare me, Dahlin said, stopping short. Men like you always break. Eli lifted his eyes calmly. Before you do anything else, he said evenly, you should know my dog was wearing a service harness. With a camera. It's been recording since this afternoon. Dahlin laughed, sharp and hollow. You're lying. Footsteps echoed in the hallway. The door opened. Captain Elaine Mercer stepped inside, raincoat draped over her arm, eyes cold and assessing. Behind her came two plainclothes investigators and a federal agent with a civil rights badge clipped to his belt. The room shifted instantly. Unlock him, Mercer ordered. Keys rattled. The cuffs came off. Eli stood slowly, rolling his wrists once before looking past them. Where's my dog? Moments later, Rex appeared, led gently by an officer. His gait was stiff, but his tail lifted when he saw Eli. Eli knelt, pressing his forehead to the dog's. Trust remained unbroken. The federal agent turned to Dahlin. Deputy Frank Dahlin, you're under arrest for animal cruelty, abuse of authority, and violation of civil rights. Evidence hit the table. Security footage. Aaron's video. Time-stamped and undeniable. Outside, rain softened. Morning arrived clean and quiet. Sunlight reflected off wet pavement as Eli loaded his truck. Rex jumped into the passenger seat with cautious confidence. Before leaving town, Eli stopped once more at the market. Martha hugged him without warning. Thank you, she said. Aaron smiled, steadier now. As the truck rolled away, the town stood different, lighter. Rex rested his head near the open window, eyes half closed. Justice hadn't come with sirens. It came with courage. The road stretched ahead, long and familiar, the kind that invited silence instead of conversation. Eli drove with one hand on the wheel, the other resting briefly on Rex's head as the dog leaned into the touch. Morning light warmed the cab, catching on dust motes and drying rain. For the first time since entering that town, Eli felt the tightness in his chest loosen. They didn't stop far away. Just enough distance for the world to feel open again. At a small diner outside the county line, Eli parked and stepped out. Rex followed, moving carefully but proudly, tail lifting higher with every step. Inside, the smell of coffee and frying eggs filled the air. No one stared. No one whispered. That was the gift. They sat near the window. Eli ordered simply. When the food arrived, he slid a plate toward Rex, scrambled eggs and sausage. The dog waited, eyes locked on Eli. Okay, Eli said. Rex ate slowly at first, then with growing confidence, tail thumping softly against the floor. Outside, a storm-clean sky stretched wide and blue. Eli watched people pass, ordinary lives moving forward, unaware of how close darkness had come to settling permanently over that town. He didn't need thanks. He never had. Doing what was right was not a favor. It was a responsibility. When they left, an older man in a faded veteran's jacket stood by the door. He met Eli's eyes and raised a hand in a crisp salute. Eli returned it without hesitation. No words passed between them. None were needed. Back in the truck, Rex curled into the seat, content. The engine started. The road welcomed them. Somewhere behind them, a town learned to breathe again. A badge no longer ruled through fear. A boy learned courage. An old woman slept easier. Justice had arrived quietly, carried by witnesses who refused to look away. Eli didn't look back. He never did. Because miracles don't always arrive loud. Sometimes they arrive through restraint instead of rage, through truth instead of silence, through someone willing to step in when stepping away would be easier. Most of us will never face such moments. But we are all given chances to choose courage over comfort, mercy over fear, and action over excuses. When those moments come, may we recognize them. And may we be ready.